Welcome to Coffee with Joe for January 14th, 2010. It's a Thursday. Joe, there's two terms, reform terms bantered around. There's financial reform and there's monetary reform.
Yeah.
Would your take be that we are trying to fix the system with financial reforms
Yeah.
that can only be fixed with monetary reform?
That is exactly right, Pete. There's so little understanding of the monetary system, that there is a monetary system. And only rarely do you even hear even Bernanke and Geithner. In fact, Geithner never, okay? But every once in a while, Bernanke will mention something about the monetary system. Um, I can't believe there's a half a dozen out of the 500 Congress people. Could there be a dozen that understand what the monetary system is? That there is a monetary system and what it is. Um, and then, as far as how it actually functions, how does it actually function? I got to say, I don't think there's two. So you have a situation where the financial reforms that we're talking about, uh, to me, they're all aimed at essentially over-regulating an unsound monetary system. The degree to which the monetary system is unsound today is unprecedented, and they're trying to put financial reforms on the top of that. And so that's why they're running around. And Glass-Steagall, is a little bit become the term du jour. But to me, the Glass-Steagall. I mean, yeah, we would be very fortunate to get Glass-Steagall, but it sets us up for another round. Now that we've learned to have all these financial instruments that we have, it would be a great day for the bankers.
Well, in case any of those legislators who don't know anything about the monetary system are looking, would you give them a quick primer on what the monetary system is?
The primary there's primarily two aspects of the money system, Pete, and one is the banking part of it, the financial part of it, and that's the part that everybody knows about, and the other part being the monetary part. The monetary part has to do with what is money in society, okay? How money functions in society, and what are the rules and the what's the setting basically in which the money system works. What do I mean by that? There's a supply of money. And how is that supply of money determined? The thing that Glass-Steagall did away with that was in the Chicago plan, Pete, was the Federal Monetary Authority. For instance, okay, Federal Monetary Authority would be the body that determines, what is the necessary quantity and, taking into account the velocity of money. And how do we ensure that that the proper amount is there to maintain price stability? So the fact that nobody's really talking about that, we talk about it in, I call it third person reality, which is setting interest rates to try to reduce inflation or deflation. We don't even talk about that's actually a monetary function, Pete. Inflation and deflation are all related to how well we do with the monetary system. That's what's going to determine inflation and deflation. There will be nothing better than to have a requirement for being a congressman to not only swear to uphold the Constitution, but to have an elementary understanding of how the monetary system works, how the money system works, because it's the money system that's going to determine whether we can afford health care, whether we can afford environmental protection, whether we can afford education, whether we can afford the infrastructure. It's all going to depend on how we run the monetary system more than anything else.
Well, it seems like in order to fix the monetary system, we need to understand um, what reforms are considered reforms of the financial system, and what reforms are considered reforms of the monetary system. What you're saying is by reforming the financial system with things like Glass-Steagall, um, we might be able to put off the eventual collapse of the debt money system, but we are not going to keep it
That's
from
right.
happening that way.
That's right. That's exactly right, Pete. And remember, it's such an simple, elementary distinction, the one that Friedman advocated and all those other guys, is the separation of the money creation role from the banking role. Those are the two parts that they both have to work. Banking has to work and money creation has to work. Bankers should be doing the banking independently, privately, completely. Money creation is a function of the government. The Constitution says so. Not only that, I mean, the Constitution says so rightfully. So we should just be doing what the Constitution says, having the government creating the money, Pete.
Well, which gives us a chance to underline once again that even though we advocate a debt-free money system at issue, it doesn't mean that there would be no debt under the reform system. It doesn't mean that people wouldn't take out loans from banks for things that they couldn't pay for today the way they do now and pay interest on their loans. We're not talking about a society that gets rid of all interest.
All we're advocating is that money comes into existence without a debt, okay? Once it's into existence, it's free market. It's free marketing in capital. It really is what it is. It's total free market in capital. But we wouldn't be in the situation we're in today when, because banks won't lend the money into existence, we don't have the money. When we don't have the money, what do we have? We have no economy, no jobs, no wages, and all that stuff. But all that stuff is a result of a flawed monetary system.
I see two huge benefits of these monetary reforms. One is that it gives the government a way to fund its activities without taxation. And the other is that it creates a permanent money system, as you say. Which do you think would be a greater benefit to the economy?
Really, it's the permanent money system that's, I think, is the real advantage of moving to this reform, Pete. Because it's the lack of the permanent money system that gives us everything that we're dealing with today, and allowed, I should say, the investment bankers, to create half the money supply without any repercussions for their actions. It's like, the guys that were up on Capitol Hill, I think today, Pete, they go up there and and they say, well, we didn't know. Well, there's no repercussions. They got too big to fail by design. They didn't happen to get too big to fail. They got too big to fail by design. And now they say if they're too big to fail, well, that means that the government has to get them out. So none of that would happen. And then, to me, the fact that the government would create the money and therefore fund its budget into existence, basically, that part of it that's deficit funded into existence. It's a huge thing, but I don't think it's as important to the overall economic stability of the future, Pete, as having a permanent money system.